1100. The following material may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to talk dirty. It's going to be filthy. It's going to be rude, crude, blatant, and disgusting. Well, who's that? We're just covering our backside there with that little disclaimer. Just in case, you know, why not? Right, big voice man? Come along and tell me, who am I and who are we?
The Rick Gilmour Show on News Radio WTAM 1100.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sirree. Yes, sirree, Bob. Yes, sirree, Bob DeRubob. Yes, sirree, Bob DeRubob Dino. Yep. The Rick Gilmour program broadcasting live from the cultural void of Independence, Ohio, where we have milk on the hour and cookies on the half hour. And then by the end of the program, you've gotten your milk and your cookies. It's just adorable, isn't it? Edmund back in the chair in there, pulling the strings, pushing the buttons and dials. Nate's going bye-bye. Yeah, producer Nate off to sunny Nashville. That's all right. Well, we wish him the best. And as usual, the computer's screwed up, and, you know, what's new? You know, every couple of weeks, you know, you come in. I guess that's just all that technology. Phone number 578-1100 in the classic 216 area code, or toll-free if you're poor, like a mouse, like a church mouse, 888-723-WTAM, and we'll pick up the dime. A little follow-up to last week's mouse story. I was talking about how I had mice in my house. Well, I've killed 7 now in 7 days. None for the last couple. Maybe if you live in a house, too. I live in an old house. It was built in the 1800s, and the mice just get in. It's not like I leave food around or don't take care of the house. It's an old house, and it's cold out, I guess. You know, it gets cold, and the mice want to come indoors and hang out. Well, they were eating the dog food, and I told you last week, don't use those sticky traps because they're just nasty. Use the snappy traps, and so the snappy traps were catching mice fine until I looked down, and for some reason there was just one lying on the floor by an electrical outlet. It was just lying there, and it didn't even get into a trap. Well, how did that happen? I don't know. Picked it up and gave it a anchors away, old mouse, anchors, you know, burial at sea. Flushed it down the toilet, what I did with it. Got rid of it. And so then I noticed that my refrigerator was running. It's an old refrigerator, you know, but it was just running, and it would run 10 minutes at a stretch, and I hadn't even opened it. I'm thinking, well, this thing's crapping out. Maybe I'll clean it. You know, you get underneath there and you vacuum the thing all out, make sure there's no dog hair or fuzz or lint or dirt or anything underneath it. And it kept running and running and then it would run, say, I don't know, a couple times an hour, at least 10, 15 minutes a stretch. That's too much, right? Something's wrong. So I'd keep turning the temp down and turning the temp down. And, well, finally it had stopped running. Well, finally I come home one day and it wasn't running at all. And you know how you get that feeling when you open your refrigerator? You just know. You're like, you know, it's still cold, but it ain't as cold as it should be. Something just ain't right here. Well, we did some rewiring in the house, and there's a couple of outlets side by side. You know what I mean? They got the up and down. There's 2, and then there's... Well, we never put the little plate back on, the little face plate on over the 4 holes there or whatever. They are, the 2 outlets. So I figured, well, I'll reach down here out of desperation. Maybe popped a circuit breaker or blew a fuse or something, you know, unplug it, and I'll plug it into the other side where the other 2 outlets are. And I reach down, and I feel what feels like fiberglass insulation. Well, there's no insulation in my house at all. So I turn the light on, and I look. Here's the ass end of a mouse hanging out from in between the 2 outlets. Now, I grab a paper towel and I go to pull it out. Yeah, I know. Take the kids out of the room. It's mushy, right? It's mushy. It's been in there. Are you still trying to figure out that computer, Ed? It's over there in the corner, I think, is where. Yeah, it's trying to figure out why it won't let us in. Damn crappy computer. Anyway, so I pull out this mushy mouse, and apparently its nose was against a ground wire, and its head has burn marks on it like an electric chair would leave or something. And this thing somehow got in between the 2 outlets and zapped out. Now, that's why the other one was laying dead on the floor, I guess, is because maybe it tried to climb in there too and grabbed onto the other mouse while the other mouse was being electrocuted, and it got electrocuted. I'm holding this mushy dead mouse in a paper towel in my hands, and I'm thinking, Gilmore, you got the strangest stuff happen to you. Whoever had that happen or thought of that. So apparently it somehow fed back through the wire to the refrigerator and screwed up its thermostat. And so now, you know what? Refrigerator runs just fine. And I'm thinking, see, this is why, you can't have these critters in your home. So a public service announcement from me, your old pal Rick Gilmour. Hard to believe, isn't it? Good God. It's one thing or another. The next thing you know, I got mice shorting out my wiring in my home. So you got to get rid of those things. Well, what do these people on the line want? Who knows? I think they're leftovers from Ratto's show. I'm only here until 10. Got not nearly enough time to consider all the topics that we have on the table this evening. Then you'll hear the Drudge Report. And hopefully he'll be talking about all those important things to the people of the city of Cleveland. Which, you want me to take these people? Want me to? They're probably going to talk sports, right? They're leftovers. Oh, they are for me. Oh, thanks, Ed. Well, Hi, WTAM 1100. You are on the air.
Yeah, hi, Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a leftover, but I want to talk to you about mice now.
Oh, okay.
When I first moved into my house, we had the same problem, mice. We had a cat, but that don't do much good. These cats are so lazy now, they don't want to do nothing but lay around and eat cat food.
Oh, and my dog is stupid. You yell bug, she'll eat a bug, but she don't know nothing about chasing mice.
But to get them all, you got to use that sticky paper, too, and I'll tell you why. The babies, you can't catch them in a snap trap. They're too small. And I was using a snap trap, and I was catching, the bigger mice. But when I finally got like that sticky paper, and I used a little peanut butter as bait,
right,
and I caught a few babies after that, and that's the last time I seen a mouse in the house for about 20 years.
Well, I caught one that I think was pregnant, because she was a lot bigger than the other mice that I'd caught, and she looked kind of fat, and I thought, I'll bet you she's full of babies, and if I get real lucky, she is still full of babies, and I killed her, and so hopefully I haven't seen any now for a couple of days, but can you believe,
Well, we could hear them running across our false ceilings and stuff.
Me too. Yep.
But the sticky paper, like I said, I'll tell you the funny one, Rick. We had, when we had the cat, she had kittens at the time. And I seen this mouse the one morning climbing into the dog bowl. So I went to get it, and it shot behind the stove. So I figured, I'll get him. I set a trap up behind the stove.
Right.
So I come home that night to see if I got my catch there, and here the trap's gone. So, I'm starting to think, what kind of mouse is this? He got caught in a trap and just crawled off. I go upstairs in the closet to check the kittens, and here Mama's cat's got the mouse and the trap, and the little kittens are sitting around in a circle like whacking at it. So that kind of made me feel good there. I figured, man, this must have been some kind of super mouse. But truthfully, that sticky paper, finally got rid of all of them.
Well, I mentioned last week that I thought it was a little inhumane, the sticky paper, because I caught one, and then it was still alive about 8 hours later. And some guy called and said, he had one that lasted about 3 days. He was trying to hide it from his kid because the thing was still alive. And he says, this was last week. He goes, finally, I had to set it on fire to put it out of its misery. I said, set it on fire. Didn't you try whacking it like whack-a-mole or step on its head or, drown it? Or
drown them, yeah. I think drowning is probably the best. Or just hold them by the exhaust pipe for a while there,
Or the freezer.
Yeah.
Put it
I wouldn't want to put them in my freezer.
Well, you put it in a baggie and then put it in the freezer. But somebody mentioned that. They said that they raise mice to feed their snakes. And they said, you take baby mice when they get old enough to, to be feeding material, I guess. And then they said they freeze them. And they just, God gives them a big warm hug and never lets go. And they just go to sleep. And I don't know, into this mice thing. Something else I wanted to ask you while I got you on the line?
Yeah.
All this talk lately, I was listening to Bob Becker, heard Saturday mornings from 6 to 9 here on the big one, and people were talking about the Kennedy assassination, and they had that special on ABC that showed how the bullet came from the book depository, went through Kennedy's back, came out his neck, and went into Governor Connolly, and came out and blew a 2-inch hole below his right nipple, and blah, 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 right?
Right.
Now, have you ever seen autopsy photos of JFK?
I've seen them, yes.
Yeah, so you seen the part where there was a big chunk of his skull hanging out on the back of his head?
Exactly.
Now, riddle me this, Peter Jennings and ABC and everybody else. I'm not saying I'm a conspiracy theorist, but if a bullet goes in the size of a bullet and comes out the size of a fist, and the back of President Kennedy's head was blown open, that bullet had to come in from the front.
I agree with you. You know, not only that, you know, I spent a year in Vietnam in 1968, and I've seen more than my share of head wounds.
Right.
And you're exactly right. To blow out the back of the head, it had to be a frontal entry. I think the best one I've seen in it that I believe, this one computer imager.
Right.
And he's very solid. They use them in federal cases and stuff. And he looked into this and the trajectory that he could see from like the Zapruder films and the other films. He said it had him puzzled for a while, but he said it came like from the street, like from the ground, you know, to cause that kind of wound. He goes out to Dallas, right about the place where Kennedy was hit, and there was a sewer right in front of there, big enough for a man to sit in. He says, with a little practice, you could make it to the river within 20 minutes through the sewer system. I think there's no question that he was not killed by Oswald, and I don't even think Oswald was involved in this. I think he was set up as a dupe. You know, this guy was no idiot. He was a master marksman. He did work for the CIA. He was a good marksman in the service. Why would someone like that do an assassination and use the old rusty rifle that he supposedly used, you know, that they found?
The Italian thing, yeah.
Yeah, this makes no sense. You know, I mean, somebody that was expert with firearms like Oswald, he's not going to use something like that. I think, you know, and I think the biggest tragedy of this whole thing, I honestly think that Lee Harvey Oswald was totally innocent. And we'll probably never get to the actual truth, you know, to prove beyond a doubt what happened.
Well, I mean, I believe the trajectory that they showed that it was possible that if you do the book, you know, the book depository sixth floor thing, that, you know, the one shot that went from the back of Kennedy's neck or from his back and came out his neck and went into Connolly, they showed the exact trajectory. I was thinking, okay, I could see, you know, him being a patsy and thinking he's going to kill the president and doing one shot that probably, I mean, if it went in his back and came out his neck, probably would have killed him all on its own anyway, but that somebody else had. I mean, I'm not even being conspiratorial here.
No, and that one there was even stranger because they found that bullet on the stretcher when they were carrying Connolly away. And they showed pictures of it. This thing is like a pristine bullet.
Right. No bullet that goes into a body is going to come out looking like that.
It's going to be mushroomed. It's going to be deformed. So, I mean, that one was planted on the stretcher.
Yep. Anybody that knows anything about firearms knows that, you know, I don't care whether you shot a jar of applesauce, the bullet's not going to look pristine.
Hey, I'll tell you, I'm not a conspiracy theorist either, but like that Flight 800 that blew up a few years ago there out over the Atlantic when it was taken off.
Right.
Now, you know, they're going to tell me that all these thousands, tens of thousands of flights, and never once did that ever happen, static in the gas tank blow an airplane up. And I remember the night that happened, they had 2 Army helicopter pilots that were on another airplane with their family on a vacation.
Right.
And between these two, they said they had like 1,100 missions in Vietnam, you know, in armed helicopters. And the one was saying, he says, look, he says, I've seen enough missiles at night, he says, to know what a missile looks like at night. He says, I seen 2 missiles streaking at that airliner before, you know, it was hit. And then they come out with their official version. Well, when they were transferring fuel from the left wing to the right wing, it created static and blew it up. And I just don't buy that.
No, it's just like the plane that went down over Queens right after 9/11. And they said, well, it just came apart. And I talked to somebody who was involved in the airline industry, and they said, well, obviously, after 9/11, you know, we're trying to protect the airline industry here because they're in big trouble. Now people are afraid to fly. He says, but that would be like you getting in your car, pulling out of your driveway, driving up the street, and having all 4 doors and the hood and the trunk lid fly off, and yet no one tampered with it. Right.
Well, you know, that one, actually, I'll tell you the truth, I think that was mechanical failure. They did a lot of testing on that model airplane. And I guess the rudder, you know, was not supposed to be used, you know, for any, like, violent maneuvers.
Right.
And the problem was the people, I guess there's a lawsuit going on now. I think that was a European plane, you know, built there.
Right. Uh-huh.
And there's a lawsuit now going in there that they never notified, like, the pilots and stuff. I'm not a pilot, but I guess you don't use a rudder to make violent turns.
I'm like John Madden. I don't want to fly.
No, I'm saying because that one, the tail section, or the tail just literally broke right off.
No, I don't. Well,
so I don't blame you. I haven't flown since the late 70s.
Yeah, I have no desire for me to fly at all. I mean, if I wanted to go to Europe, if I had that kind of money, well, then I'd take a boat. Just the way I am. I'll take my chances, sink or swim. But in falling out of the sky, you're a goner no matter what.
That's like my wife always wanted to go to Hawaii, and I told her when they build a bridge.
There you go.
But I don't go anywhere I can't drive.
Thanks for checking in, Tiger.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're more than welcome. Triple Doppler forecast from TV3's Betsy Kling, a lovely woman tonight. Some rain, low in the 40s. It's going to get windy out there tomorrow with more rain and colder, and then it's going to be in the 30s currently. Enjoy it while you can. 63 degrees in Cleveland, 63. A lovely evening. Go out and urinate in your backyard or whatever it is you do to celebrate the fact that it's not freezing. Starting tomorrow on Wolves and Coleman in the morning, listen, and you can win Indians tickets to the home opener, and you'll get a chance to win in the big one's $1 million cash snatch. He said cash. We want to stuff your stocking, baby. That's us, News Radio, WTAM 1100. Something else I wanted to throw into the mix. Open phones this evening. I think it's tomorrow, isn't it, that Ladybug Jane Campbell, Queen of the Flying Hubcap, is going to announce how many cops and firefighters and EMS she's going to have to lay off. Well, we'll see. I thought she was going to blame it all on the safety director, Draper, and then she could save the jobs so that she could partnership with the safety services. It's essentially what the mayor does. She's like boobs on a ball, if I can clean it up. My hands are clean. I voted for Ray Pierce. Now, would that have worked out in the long run? I don't know. And something else to throw into the mix. How about Michael Jackson? Like I say, only here for a couple hours. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. Short time to do it. But here's a real quick take on Michael Jackson. Now, somewhere here I pulled off the internet the sheriff's investigation from November 18th of 2003. Isn't that amazing? It's almost 10 years to the day. Lawsuit against Michael Jackson. I was born, I'm 13, currently in the 8th grade, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you heard Kevin Keene read this thing. Met Michael Jackson at Rent-A-Wreck. What Michael Jackson was doing at Rent-A-Wreck. Anyway, what happened in 03, all I can say is, should be a precursor. Don't you think that everyone knew that maybe something happened, that Michael Jackson coughed up $16 million back then to pay off the parents of some little kid? Right? Don't you think that something happened? Okay, so this does not give Michael Jackson permission to touch little boys or sleep with them or do whatever he does with them. What kind of a parent would let their kid sleep over at Michael Jackson's house?
You know, you feel so good inside.
After that happened.
I always wanted a girl just like you.
Or a little boy just like you, yeah. You know what I mean? What kind of a parent would let their kids sleep over there?
Where did you come from, baby?
You know,
Won't you take me there right away? Won't you leave me?
yeah. So what do they want? They just want money? So they'll sacrifice their child? It's unbelievable. That was my big concern. I wouldn't let my kids sleep over there. I was at a bar last night, and that was my favorite line. I said, boy, this beer is so good, it's going down faster than pants at Neverland. Larry, you're on the air.
Hey, Mike King, what's up, buddy?
Oh, no, just doing a program.
Oh, man.
I'm having too much fun.
I was talking to my brother Tim about Michael Jackson today. Hey, I'll tell you what, man, $14 million, I let Michael Jackson sleep with me.
Well, but to let your kid do that, I mean, if you've got kids...
I know.
You know, that to me, that's poor parenting. There's something wrong there.
You see his mugshot? You see man, he looks like a clown, dude.
He was wearing lipstick, too.
He's got issues, man. They keep saying he's eccentric.
Oh, he's got more issues than National Geographic.
I don't know who's worse, him or John Lanigan.
Well, now, I knew this was going to come up sooner or later, and I'm surprised I did not get a memo from anyone saying what to say or what not to say about Mr. Lanigan.
I know.
Here's what I will say. I thought about it, and I thought,
No comment.
Well, no, I am going to comment. I'm going to say that I was not there, and that he's innocent until he's proven guilty, and also that I would hope that if I were in the same situation, that I would be treated with the same respect by a fellow broadcaster as to not comment on it.
I know. Think about it, man. How many times you go out and about, huh?
Well, everybody goes out and about. The thing that bothered me was I was thinking, good Lord, man. I mean, Westlake's getting a real reputation now. They got Tom Coyne, William Green, and John Lanigan.
Yeah, but I thought he got busted in Cleveland.
Who, Lanigan?
Yeah.
I thought it was Westlake because he was at Dave and Buster's and allegedly backed into someone's car or something when he was leaving.
I thought it was in Cleveland. I guess.
Well, he got bad information.
Because he refused a breath analyzer, Chuck?
That's up in the air, too, because somebody out there is a cop or an attorney, I mean, I've heard my attorney said, unless you're obliterated, blow. And then other attorneys have said the law has changed lately or something and that you don't have to take any tests whatsoever. And I thought about it, and I thought, I wouldn't know what to do. What do and if you say to a cop, listen, I'm not doing any tests. I'm not talking to no one but an attorney. They can get kind of nasty. You're going to jail. They're towing your car, and
they're going to confiscate your license. You're going to go to the tank. One way or another, you're just making it worse for yourself.
Are you done now, Larry? Because I'm being musicked out.
Hey, quick Michael Jackson joke. What's black? It comes a little white.
Oh, blah, blah, blah. I'm going. I don't know where that was going. I'll tell you a little Michael Jackson joke. What do Michael Jackson's house, what does Neverland and Kmart have in common? Little boy's pants, half off. I am the sharpest mind in Cleveland radio, Rick Gilmour, the thinking man's friend. More of the program, more of your phone calls after these important words and coverage of what in the world's happening on Cleveland's only news radio station, baby, WTAM 1100.
The big one.
I have a bit that I used to do on the little station I was on before. I said, I think Roger Brown, who can't seem to stop writing about radio, even though he's writing about sports now, he always has to tie in Triv and badmouth him somehow. Triv heard post-Russia or 3 on the big one. And my bet was that what people would do was I said, Roger Brown doesn't sound like a very distinctive name, does it? Perhaps the man needs a more stately name. His name should be something like Frederick Roger Brown. And then that way, he could, people, his name would be F. Roger Brown. I thought about that. That sounded more distinctive, didn't it? Like G. Gordon Liddy, what's another one? J. Paul Getty, and F. Roger Brown. How about that? And so then when people would say goodbye, if they didn't have anything more to say when they were calling the program, they wouldn't have to say goodbye. If they ran out of things to say, all they'd have to do is say F. Roger Brown, and then I'd hang up on them, and I'd say, see, that was a man with a very distinctive name. The title would fit him. How about that? Oh, what else have we not touched on? Well, there's more to touch on, but I don't want to overload you with stuff. Besides, we've got call after call after call. Someone's calling about hogs. Is your name Delan?
Delano. How you doing there?
How do you spell that?
Delano.
No, Delano, like Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Yes.
So you were named after FDR, I would assume, his middle name.
Well, actually, my god uncle, that was his name, but close enough. Anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a cool name.
Well, anyway, I have 2 quick comments, and then I'll hear your comments, one of a serious and one of a light nature. The problem with Cleveland politics, they elect too many liberal Democrats, Rick.
Well, there's really not much to choose from because, everyone in council and the mayor are all Democrats, and I was having that discussion with Paul Ratto in a break. Seems to me that the last Republican mayor that Cleveland had was Voinovich. And
well, the reason I don't like Democrats, they want to steal my money.
Well, everybody wants to steal your money if they're a politician.
Especially liberal Democrats do, but they have no morals about them,
Well, I don't know. It seems like everybody. I don't think it matters what side of the aisle you're on. I think they're all crooks.
Well,
unless you're a dog catcher down. Once you get above dog catcher, then somebody's coming along going, you know what? You're kind of, you're not making a lot of money. How about if we double your salary and you vote this way? And they say yes. And once you do it once, then you're dirty forever, I guess.
No, that's true, because Voinovich is nothing but a Republican in Democrats' clothing or whatever. Yeah, I'm not happy with him. But anyway, let me get to the lighthearted note. A few weeks ago you were talking about hogs, and it brought back a memory to when I was in the Army.
Now, let me refresh people's memory for what I was talking about was going hogging, which is the fine art of going out and picking up fat chicks, because they need love, too.
Well, all women need love, Rick. I mean, that's true. But I was at Fort Indian Town Gap, Pennsylvania, for a training exercise, and the boys, after a hard day's work in the field, they went to the Holiday Inn. And so there was a cornfield behind our barracks, and they picked the corn and put it on strings. And they took it to that Holiday Inn, and they were going, during the dancing, taking out corn, going through the dance floor yelling, "Suey, suey, suey." And the manager got so angry, he says, "What in the blah, blah you guys doing?" And the sergeant said, "We're trolling for hogs."
That's great.
That was the funniest thing. I'll never forget that. I mean, it was so corny. I mean, some of the finest married men, when they put that uniform on, they have no morals about them. They'll take anything.
Well, that is funny. Thanks.
Okay.
All right.
Well, you have a good evening. You take care, buddy.
All right, you too. Yeah, fat chicks need love, too. Well, they travel in packs, don't you? There'll be a couple good-looking ones, and then the three fatties coming along behind them, and the good ones, they leave early, right? They're the hotties, and they know it. And then the fat ones, they hang around, and then, the guys figure, okay, well, I didn't get the good one. I'll take anything at this point. And, fat chicks and mopeds. Just don't let your friends catch you see riding one, that kind of thing. Here's another something to throw in the mix. I got so much stuff to throw in the mix. And just call me Mixmaster Rick. I thought this was interesting. Was this Aguda Springs, Kansas, little tiny town in Kansas? They've passed an ordinance requiring people to have guns and ammunition. They have to. Most households have to have guns and ammo. Residents who do not comply will be fined $10. It passed 3-2 earlier this month. Those who would be exempt are paupers, poor people, those who suffer from physical or mental disabilities, or people who conscientiously oppose firearms. Gouda Springs city attorney opposes the measure, which has not taken effect because it's yet to be published. Wants to ask council to reverse the issue. It's similar to one in Kennesaw, Georgia, which was passed 21 years ago and is still in effect. Well, I don't know about an ordinance saying that you have to have a firearm in your home, but not a bad idea. If somebody wants to barge into my house and get past my German Shepherd and my Mossberg 500 Bullpup 12 or the Ithaca Parkerized police riot gun with the shortened barrel for use in doorways, have at it. How about that? Mike, you're on the air.
Hey.
Hey, hay is for horses and cows that go moo.
Moo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I heard, you ever seen Death Wish where this one guy at Charles Bronx was shooting at a target? A gun that big would have a kick to it?
Well, sure, I know. You see them guys on TV holding Tommy guns, and you ever picked up a Model 1927 Thompson submachine gun with a full barrel full of 45 rounds? I mean, the thing weighs like 30 pounds. I mean, it takes two hands to handle the whopper. And the thing, you're not going to hold it in one hand and go bang, 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 like they do, unless you're built like Man Mountain Dean, pick your teeth with school buses and block the noonday sun. Ain't happening. Yeah.
About this JFK thing? Everybody's an expert at it.
JFK is still dead. Newsflash.
He's still dead after 40 years. They kind of divide the generation. Us older guys over 50 say we know where we were when JFK was shot, and everybody said we weren't even born yet.
Well, what bothers me is why did they have to seal the Warren Commission report for 75 years? That means we have to wait another 35 years. That means that if I'm around in that period of time, I will be 77 years old before I find out definitively what happened to JFK, and by then I'll be sitting in front of my computer television drooling and bitching about Bill Clinton, and it won't matter. I'll be senile or something, and why can't we find out now?
I don't know. The guy has enough people to protect. Governor Connolly's wife is still living. She's 80-something years old. They probably have to protect most of these people.
I guess. Yeah, Mike, thanks for checking in. I mean, that's one magic loogie. Yeah, it went right, I can see the bullet going through Kennedy's back, coming out his neck, and, it tore a hole 2 inches big below Connolly's nipple when it came out. Well, then how do you explain a fist-size hole in JFK's melon that got popped out from, front to back? Explain it to me. Otherwise, people are always going to say there's something fishy going on here. Or as my friend Navy Bob likes to say, things look hinky. There's something hinky here. It's just not right. AJ.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey,
Long time no talk.
You are on WTAM 1100.
Gotta plug that station.
Absolutely.
Okay, I have a simple and easy way, so hopefully someone from the city of Cleveland is listening on how to get them out of debt. I can do it in 3 months, and it won't cost them a dime.
Well, they're listening because I am the sharpest mind in Cleveland radio, and people like to get in. A lot of radio people listen to this program so that they can get information for their shows without having to do any research work.
Well, good. I hope they have their pens and papers out, because here it is.
All righty. Here we go.
Anyone who makes $25,000 or less is excluded from this. If you make $25,000 to $50,000, you pay $150 over a 3-month period of time. Your employer, okay, or where you live, if you live in the city of Cleveland, this is for people who live and work in the city of Cleveland. You have 3 months to do it. Your employer can take it right out of your paycheck, and it can go straight to the city. Those people are already employed, so they just take that extra money and they put it in an account. If you make $50,000 to $100,000 a year, you pay $200. And from $100,000 to $300,000, you pay $300. You have 3 months to pay it. It's tax deductible. And
well, this doesn't make sense.
Why?
Well, 25 to 50, you should do it exponentially. If you're making over $100,000, if you're, it should be more like $1,000. I mean,
Well, but you don't need that much because with the amount of people that live in Cleveland and the amount of people that work in Cleveland, it comes out to be somewhere around 1.5 million to 1.75 people. So.
Well, wait a minute. There's no. You mean? I don't understand here because there's only about 500,000 people in the city of Cleveland.
Well, there's 500,000 people in the city of Cleveland, but there's quite a few people who work. There's about another 500,000 people that work in the city of Cleveland.
Oh, I thought you meant just people that live and work. You mean if you just say you live in Strongsville, but you work in Cleveland, this would come out of your pay too?
Right. It comes out of your pay because you're paying for those fire services and you're paying for those police services. When you drive from Strongsville and come into the city of Cleveland, if someone tries to carjack you, then the Cleveland police are going to protect you.
You're right.
So you need to pay for those services. It goes over 3 months. It's painless for someone who makes $100,000, and it's painless for someone who makes from $25,000 to $50,000 because it's only $150. So it comes out over 3 months, $50 a month. That's not going to kill anyone, but it's going to keep them employed. It's going to have the city out of debt, and it's going to give them a couple of $100,000 to keep on the side to get the book straight again.
Have you sat down with a calculator and done the math on this?
I roughly did it because I actually called the city of Cleveland and tried to find out how many people worked in their city, and nobody knew.
Because we need 65 million to fix the problem, apparently.
Well, if you just did it with the people who worked or with the people who live in the city of Cleveland, it comes out to be like $150 per person. So I'm figuring another 500,000 to 600,000 people work in the city of Cleveland, along with those people who live there. So I'm figuring, if you start at around 150, then work your way up to 200, then 300, it'll all balance out. It comes out to be, I figured it out a couple of days ago when I tried to call the city with just a rough estimate. It comes out to be about $85 to $90 million.
Oh, well, hey, then that does sound painless and not a bad idea. I hope somebody's listening.
Well, I tried to get a hold of the mayor. I tried to get a hold of somebody in their office, and, you just can't call people up and give them your idea.
Yeah, well, you're using the best forum I can think of is Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100.
And you are the best forum to get it through.
All right, thanks, AJ.
Okay, buddy.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I know they listen. I mean, unless you're just brain dead and mush running out your ears and you're just listening to, the station that gives you a trip a day or something like that. I mean, you want to get some kind of information. I pride myself on thinking that, in my belief, I have the most intelligent listeners to talk radio in Cleveland listen to this program. Hats off to you. Write it down and tell a friend. How about that? A lot of issues to cover. Boy, we talked about mice. We talked about everything. We talked about Michael Jackson, talked about cops, talked about... Oh, that was funny. I'll tell you that next hour. I could sit here for days. Trevor, you're on the air. Are you there?
Yeah, it's Trevor.
Yeah, you're on the big one.
Hi. I'd like to talk about your mice problem.
Yeah, well, I think I got them all, I hope.
Well, hopefully I could add one more to your list.
All right.
Just poison those mice. Get them right out of there.
Well, see, I would put those poison pills out, that decon stuff, but I got a dog, and I was afraid the dog would eat the pills.
Oh, that's true.
You know, even if the mouse took the pill, maybe the mouse would move the pill around, even if I put it, like, inside the wall or something. You know what I'm thinking? With my luck, the mouse would be smart enough to bring the pill out, and then the dog would eat it, so.
Oh. I got one more thing for you. I live in Menor. You hear about the little debt thing that's going on out here?
I've heard the problems that Menor had, and I thought that they passed a levy to try and help the schools, and then they still said they need more money, and...
Yeah, that levy didn't pass very well, but...
Well, they said even if the levy passed, it didn't matter. Yeah. They still needed another, what, $16 million or something?
Yeah, we're pretty much in debt, $16 million, yeah. I got one more thing to say. Go Menor High, go Tennessee Titans, and hi, Kevin.
Okay, well, thanks for checking in. Hey, while I think of it, did you hear? I heard McDonald's is coming out with a new sandwich. It's made out of beef lips. They call it the McJagger. Triple Doppler forecast from TV3's Betsy Kling. Tonight, clouds, thunder, rain, low in the 40s. Tomorrow, more of the same. Temperatures falling into the 30s. Let's look ahead, shall we? Sure. Tuesday, upper 30s. Enjoy it while you can. It's currently 63 degrees in Cleveland. 63 degrees. You can join the Mike Trevisano Show for the annual Minuteman Staff Turkey Giveaway tomorrow afternoon live from Cleveland Brown Stadium from 3 to 7. Go see Triv out there. This should be fun. The first 2,500 people to make a donation, or you drop off a new or a like-new coat to Coats for Kids, you'll get a free turkey courtesy of Minuteman Staffing and Nature Stone. That's our way of saying Happy Thanksgiving to you from us. The big one, News Radio, WTAM 1100. Nick, you're on the air.
Yeah, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, how you doing?
Great,
I like
great.
the show.
Thank you.
I got a couple of comments. The first comment is the media getting on Lanigan about him getting busted for DUI and drugs.
No, I don't think there were any drugs involved, were there? I think that's just...
But yeah, I thought it wasn't that your media that your show that mentioned that he had drugs on him.
Not my show.
Oh, must have been Trevisano's show. But anyhow,
I didn't hear about the drugs. All I heard was that he got...
Yeah, I heard he had some heroin on him.
Oh, I don't know about that.
But anyhow, what I'm saying is, here, the media's going back and forth like, well, whether he had drugs or whether he didn't take a what was that, a sobriety test?
Right.
But they shouldn't have done that in the first place, correct?
What's that?
He shouldn't have put himself in that position. He should have been smart enough to walk out of the Dave & Buster's and said, hey,
well,
I'm not good enough to drive, I'll take a cab, right?
Well, let's put it this way, pal. No one's guilty until they go to a trial or go to court. So the allegations that Mr. Lanigan has been charged with, well, we'll see how it plays out. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to comment. And I got to be perfectly honest. Edmund, let me ask you. You work here too. Ed, can you hear me? Did you hear anything about drugs? I didn't hear anything about John Lanigan having any drugs on him. All I heard was there was some kind of a car accident at Dave & Buster's parking lot, and then he wouldn't take any tests. Well, if you don't take any tests, they just immediately charge you with the DUI, and then you can fight your way out of it with your lawyer. Then they showed somebody on the news walking up to his house. Yeah, they're walking up to the door. We get a comment? Well, what do you think they're going to get there? You think anybody's going to come to the door? You think if I were in that situation and, Carl Monday's on my porch, do you think I'm going to go to the door? Yeah, come on in, Carl. If Carl Monday were on your porch, would you push down Carl Monday, or would you wait until later in the week? John, you're on the air.
Thanks for coming. You've been funny last couple calls.
I know. I'm a funny guy. I'm a clown. I'm here for your amusement.
That Mick Lips really got me going.
Yeah, the new McJagger sandwich.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the McTongue instead of the McWin.
No.
Hey, I've been watching the performance of Cleveland's mayor the last few weeks, and
the poor performance.
Yeah, poor performance. It seems when she ran for it, she thought of all the pomp, but not the circumstance that comes with the job, and now she's seeing some of the circumstances she's in.
You're exactly right. You put your finger right on it, because everything she did after she got elected mayor were ribbon cuttings and that sort of thing. That's all the pomp and none of the circumstance.
Now, let me ask you why. She didn't have the time because she said she was working with her staff, closeted with her staff last Monday night, and couldn't be in council chambers for the council meeting when they had all the police and firefighters there. But she made sure she was standing beside the police chief and the director of public safety, Draper, at the news conference when they they announced the arrest of that guy in the Shakira Johnson case?
Well, because it's like Jesse Jackson or anybody else that shows up everywhere. You know, they got to be there for the photo op.
Right.
That's what
exactly.
it is. I mean, I never thought I'd say this, but I would have been happier if Boss White would have stayed. I mean, the cops and firefighters, they don't much think of Jane Campbell as anything special because she's alienated them by alienating James Draper.
Right. And he's gotten himself put into a box. And I think, didn't he say in the press last week that had he known about the financial situation,
he never would have taken the job.
Right.
Yep. He's stuck with this job, and it's all going to be his fault. I thought the way it was going to play out was that the mayor was going to come out tomorrow and make this announcement that, they found money someplace, and that she could take quote-unquote credit for saving the police and fire jobs.
Right.
When in actuality, she did nothing but shuffle some paper around and shuffle some money back and forth and come up with some cash. And, you know, I don't trust her as far as I could throw her, and I'm only 150 pounds, and she weighs more than I do. So.
Well, I tell you, Gilly, like I said, too much pomp and not enough circumstance.
Amen and hallelujah.
Okay, have a good night.
All right, you too. Exactly right. That's what she did. She got into a job where she's in over her head. She's like a deer in the headlights. By the way, when's deer hunting season around here? We got too damn many deer. I almost ran into one a couple weeks ago. They're everywhere. Get rid of those damn deer. For a few years ago, I used to say, oh, no, don't shoot the deer. Well, when you almost run into them all the time... Did I ever tell you the story about... a guy was telling me a story. He was a kid. Him and a buddy of his went out to Oregon or California or someplace, and they're driving back in an old Dodge van. And they're stoned. And they're driving along in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden the back end of a deer comes through the windshield, defecates and urinates all over them, and then runs away. And they're stoned, and they're sitting there, and they were stuck in some podunk town halfway between Oregon and Ohio to get the windshield frame repaired because it bent the windshield frame. And they said, and here we are covered in feces and urine, and they're stoned, and it's the middle of the night. That kind of takes the edge off having the munchies, don't it? Now, I'm Rick Gilmour, the sharpest mind in Cleveland radio and the thinking man's friend. More of the program after these important words and coverage of what in the world's happening on Cleveland's only news radio station, WTAM 1100.
Continuing coverage coming up at the bottom of the hour. Bulletins at 1. News Radio, WTAM 1100. The following material may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
There you go. And with that duly noted, remember, every time you masturbate, God kills a kitten. That's your words to live by. If you're driving home from the racetrack or someplace, keep both hands on the wheel. That means you too, Jim from Window 4 out there at Thistledown. Don't drive off the 480 bridge. All right? Keep it between the ditches. If you're going to drink and drive, stay the hell out of my lane.
The Rick Gilmour Show on News Radio WTAM 1100.
That's all I can say. Yeah, well, we've talked about a lot tonight. I had mice problems in my house. Speaking of mousy types, tomorrow, Ladybug Jane Campbell, the queen of the flying hubcap, will announce what she's going to do with the cops and the firefighters and the EMS, and I'm sure she'll partner with them. She partnerships with everyone. Talked about JFK. How can you punch out a hole in the back of someone's melon if they got shot from the back? That don't work. Anybody my age or older, we're all sitting around scratching our heads going, it just ain't right. It's just something that don't fly here. It just ain't right. I'm not a conspiratorial type, and I don't think that the mafia or JFK, LBJ, remember they said LBJ did it. How about the caller I had a couple weeks ago that said that, well, actually Jackie Kennedy did it. She removed a small pistol from her purse and shot him, and shot the president after he caught it in the neck. And that he was killed by his own wife in her pillbox hat and her fashionable pink suit. Unlikely. And the biggest story, according to Larry King, the biggest story in the whole world. Michael Jackson. Well, what do they say? What's Neverland and Kmart have in common? Little boys' pants half off. How do you know when there's a party at Neverland? You count all the tricycles in front. There's a million of them. I got a million of them, folks. I'll be here until Wednesday. Don't forget to tip your waiter and enjoy the veal. Well, it is a pretty big story. Well, what kind of freaky parents would let their kid go over there? No, really? He doesn't have a past history of that sort of nonsense and baloney? Well, of course he does. Joined on the line by Norm Ezzy from Cleveland's We the People, and you say you have a lot of news about City Hall.
Hey, Rick.
Hey.
It's been a while.
It has.
been going to school.
Oh, you have been going to school?
Yeah, urban studies.
Edumacation.
Yeah, never too old, what's that expression? Never too old enough to learn, right?
Sure. Oh, life is a learning experience, and I think the folks that are the most successful older people are the ones that continue to keep reading and learning and working and everything else that keeps you busy.
Well, I got a new expression. I'm going to tell you things in words you've never heard before.
And I'm a word boy, so that's a challenge.
You're going to like it. You're going to like it. Okay, and I'm going to preface my conversation with you as, has it occurred to anyone to get it right for once? Cleveland's budget is dependent on its economy. Would you agree?
Yeah, and the economy sucks.
Okay, now catch this. Cleveland, since the 1950s, has lost 50% of its population and 80% of its wealth.
I believe that. I believe it.
All right, now this is going to get deep. What I'm going to be calling for this week is a petition to recall the city charter. Now, what does that mean? We need a charter review commission, okay, to change the way council governs, and I call these guys ward kings because that's what they are. We need to reduce it from 21 to 7, elected by the large, the citywide election, not by wards. This is a big problem in the city of Cleveland. Then these newly elected council people could replace the mayor with a city manager appointed by council, which with the academic talent that's here, we need what I call, in other words, get rid of party politics, get rid of personal politics, and get into what's called transformational political process. I'll repeat that. Transformational political process with business-minded people. We need to run this city as a business. Now, I heard you a little while ago talking about Mayor White. Mayor White ran with the big boys. You can't name any big business people that have a working relationship with Mayor Jane Campbell. She just wants to put flower pots in front of vacant buildings, cut ribbons, like you said. She doesn't have what's called far-forward critical thinking to resurrect our economy. And the only way we're going to do that is bring back middle class back into the city. And that has to start with, Rick, with a Cleveland elementary school system located on Cleveland State campus. This is very important, because you got to have a good educational system. You got to start young. Did you read today's article about Barbara Bird Bennett?
No, I've seen her mug on TV lately, though. She seems to be making more and more appearances.
Well, the bottom line is this. If you don't have a strong public school system in the city of Cleveland, and you don't have a sound economy that can basically fund the services that this city needs,
right,
and you have a declining population base, what's happening now is declining property values and escalation in homeowners insurance policies. That's just the tip of the iceberg. We really need to understand how we govern our city, and it's got to be done by a city business manager. They do it in Cincinnati.
So what you're saying is like, say, for example, let me just throw out an example here, Clear Channel. Now, you know, my big boss, Jim Meltzer, spends an awful lot of time all year long dealing with the budgets, and that's what he does, is he counts a lot of beans. And what you're saying is that the people in charge of the city of Cleveland need to be run by people like that know how to count beans, that know how to sit around and go, this ain't working, this
Absolutely.
Not some figurehead that goes out and cuts ribbons.
Absolutely. And you want to know something? And this, I just found this out recently. In the College of Urban Studies, you know what the #1 school in the country is? The University of Kansas. Do you know who comes in #2? Cleveland State. And we've got the academic talent in Cleveland State to get these business-minded people back into the arena of running the city as a business, which has never been done. Think about it. You know, the bottom line is, and I'll compare it to the old days, you know, Chicago. I'll relate it to Chicago. The difference between Chicago and the corruption in Chicago and the corruption in Cleveland, they got business people in Chicago. Think about that.
Well, even the Daily Machine that ran rampant in the 1960s in Chicago was a thriving, and still is, a thriving and surviving environment, whereas the dirty politics in Cleveland just lines pockets and greases people, and they get rich, and the city goes down the tubes.
Well, I hope your listeners understand, because the transformational political process has got to start immediately. It's got to start tomorrow morning. It really does. We need to encompass the middle-class people who have been squeezed out of the city of Cleveland, from the manufacturing base, the loss of jobs, the looming layoffs with the police and the fire and the EMS. And we've got to look at this as a business. Something else you need to understand, which I'm really puzzled about, Sam Miller and Company, Forest City Enterprises, they're shipping lumber to Japan. They're doing business in Pittsburgh. You cannot name one new redevelopment for economic growth in the city of Cleveland from Forest City Enterprises. Do you remember the expression, the best location in the nation? It used to be Cleveland, correct? Why can't Cleveland become the distribution hub, east, north, west, and south, from where we're at in our locale, okay? Why is it so difficult for any outside money to come into this city and basically make the community vibrant again? I mean, I have really been studying this, and it is amazing because it's beyond corruption. It's what I call old school thinking, and now you have Gene Campbell and company. Did you know that these council wards, each of them individually, have a $500,000 individual fund within each ward? So if you're a ward member, when's the last time you ever heard anybody talk about councilmen? These are barons. They're barons of their own ward. So right away you have nepotism among each other, all the perks for their wards. And who keeps reelecting these councilmen? The constituents. Why? It's about staying in power. And look at the city of Cleveland. Look at Euclid Avenue. How many times have you heard Trevisano talk about the blight of Cleveland, Ohio, and the city of Cleveland, Euclid Avenue, and casino gambling, convention centers, all of that? It's because of who's running the city.
Norm, I thank you for your opinion.
All right, my man. Take care.
All right.
Hey, by the way, our website's updated.
Okay.
See ya.
All right. Bye-bye. Yeah, you can go to... Check it out if you want to. www.stormandnorm.com. STORMINNORM. 2 N's in the middle there. That's Norm's opinion, and I will distance myself from it. That's Norm Ezzy from Cleveland's We the People, but you can go to his website and check it out. There's a lot of good information there. A lot of it is so deep and so heavy and so political that it goes over everyone's head, including myself, and it's interesting information that you can read at your leisure because it's on a computer at home, and you know what I mean. But to broadcast that and any information that you get from that website is, Norm's opinion, and all that sort of thing, not associated with Clear Channel or WTAM 1100. And his opinions about anything else are his opinions, so don't call tomorrow and yell at Ray Davis and say that Rick said something bad, because Rick didn't say a word, did he? That was Norm Ezzy from We the People's Opinion. Roger, you're on the air.
Rick, how you doing?
All right.
Norm was sort of on a little bit of a beaten path, I know what I'm saying, but then he sort of went a little distant there. We need to... There's a way that we can impeach the President of the United States. How do we impeach the beach? How do we get rid of Jane Campbell?
I don't know. It says up. Can I say up here what your job is? Or would you rather not?
Oh, I can.
Okay.
Police officer for the city of Cleveland.
Now, how long have you been an officer? I mean, just generally. You can, more than a couple of years.
16.
Okay. So now, I cannot speak for police officers in the city of Cleveland, and I know that there was not a working relationship between Boss White and the police officers, but is it any better with Jane Campbell?
No, it sure isn't. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people had a lot of criticism for Mayor White, and he was rolling with the big boys in the business world. But in return of that, he was taking care of the city, and then in the end, the people of the city were taken care of.
See, that's what I was thinking.
And the workers of the city. And Jane's claiming to be a people's mayor.
So let me ask you as a police officer then, would you rather have Boss White back in office than who we have now?
Yeah.
Okay. See, that's what I was thinking, but I can't voice that opinion because I'm not a police officer, but I was thinking the way things are going now, the city is not being taken care of.
No. It's, the funny thing of it is, and she might come up with this tomorrow, she needs to borrow money from the water department. The water department's sitting on over $170 million.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what the hell are they doing with all that money?
They got their act together.
So instead of laying off cops and firefighters and EMS and all that sort of thing and putting the people of the city of Cleveland, of which I am a citizen, in danger, and, say I'm having a heart attack, I'm writhing around on my deathbed of shag carpeting.
Well, she's not in charge of the water department. That's why it's so successful.
But could they dip in there and take out...
I'm sure she could borrow it somehow.
So instead of putting the people of the good city of Cleveland in danger by cutting our safety forces, which is the last thing in the world that you should do, they should come up with a little dough to try and cover this. Do you think that she's going to do that and then try and say, look what I did, I saved all those jobs?
I don't know.
That's what I heard.
I don't know.
I heard the rumor was that she was going to come up with the money, and then she could be responsible for saying, see, it was I that did not get the firefighters and cops and EMS workers laid off.
Well, maybe she ought to raise the rates at the new public golf course she had built on Fleet.
Or maybe...
Which nobody participates in, or...
Maybe we had to wonder why her husband's driving a brand new Explorer.
Yeah, and he's a millionaire. I want to get into his personal life, but that man's a millionaire.
You want to talk to somebody who's another police officer who differs with your opinion?
Well,
no?
No, I hear about it all the time here.
Okay, well, I'll put him on later then.
Well, you know, the other thing, then we're going to be, what are we left with, the sheriff's department, the police, the streets?
Well, you know, in my neighborhood, I live in Tremont, and I think it's 216 and 212 are the only 2 cars I see driving around in the neighborhood. Well, I'd like to see 4 cars, not 1 car. You know what I mean? I'd like to see a couple more cars driving around, not 1 less.
Well, she's out for the big party. Well, you know, I think she ought to start with the jobs that she created for her friends. You know, and if she became mayor, she replaced Mayor White's staff, of course, who are all averaging about $80,000 to $90,000 a year. And then her staff comes in starting off at 95 up to 100,000+ a year.
Yeah, she cut her salary by $10,000, and I'm thinking big deal.
Oh, yeah, big deal.
Big deal. And her husband's rich?
Oh, very rich.
Now, what does he even do for a living? I don't even know.
I don't know what he does now. He used to do city planning at one time under a few years back.
You know, all these
people... He does consulting work and, you know...
Oh, one of those. Whenever anybody says, I'm a consultant, I go, oh, you're one of those people that I have no idea what you do and you're overpaid.
Right.
All right. Well, all right, thanks, Roger.
All right, thank you.
All right. Yeah, we got problems. I mean, you know, big problems. How to fix it? Well, Norm's idea, previous caller, said to consolidate and get rid of some of these council people that are barons of their own ward. I hear Nelson Centron's getting charged again with, his wife said he beat her up. And wasn't there another charge just like that a few years ago, too? Maybe it was more than a few years ago. I don't know. You know, you could possibly overlook. You can't overlook somebody beating their wife. I mean, that's just, you know, if those charges are true, we'll see how that pans out. But you can overlook people like Boss White, who had a lot of manic digressions. I mean, you can overlook some of the little megalomaniac if the city is functioning. Now, you know, maybe the bottom line there is that the city was functioning on, some level that was barely there because all the money was getting gobbled up. Now, I don't know how you afford $1 million alpaca and llama ranch in Tuscaroras County on the mayor's salary, but hey, maybe Boss White was very frugal and saved his pennies. Or maybe you do the math. Triple Doppler forecast from TV3's Betsy Kling tonight. Cloud, rain, thunder, low in the 40s. Tomorrow, well, windy and rainy and maybe some snow. It's going to get colder. It's going to be in the 30s. And currently it's 62 degrees in Cleveland. That's about, I'll bet you, I have a prediction here. I'll go out on a limb. This is going to be the warmest it's going to be in Cleveland until the January thaw. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and I hope I am. I like it when it's 62 in November, but it's frightening a little bit, isn't it? Because I've lived here 42 years, and then I know what happens when it's 42. The next thing you know, it's going to be 22 for 3 months. It's going to be crappy and, lousy, and so rake your leaves while you get the chance, I guess, if you haven't already done so. Starting tomorrow on Wills and Coleman in the morning, you can win tickets to the Indians opener and have a chance to win big money, and the big one's $1 million cash snatch. He said cash. We can stuff your stocking for the holidays, baby. That's us. News Radio, WTAM 1100. John, you're on the big one.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
All right, you're a police officer, and you didn't agree with what Roger said there before.
No, absolutely not. My outlook on this is does everybody think that this problem occurred since Mayor Campbell took her position? Granted, I don't think Mayor Campbell's stepping up to the plate and governing the city. I think maybe she's in over her head, but this has been an ongoing problem that's been going on for some time, and it just now came to light after Michael White left.
That's what I was thinking. I was wondering if maybe, the city was functioning, but the money was slipping away and we were slipping deeper and deeper into debt, and then all of a sudden she inherits this mess.
She did inherit this mess. This, Mayor White was in for, 11 years? This just didn't happen overnight. She inherited the mess on top of the economy going down and down. But what we need is something for people to want to come to the city for. There's really nothing here other than the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Browns, and the Cavaliers. What do we have downtown? You got empty storefronts. You got no businesses. All the businesses have been leaving over the last 11 years. This just didn't happen. So what we need is business, something that will bring people here. bring money here.
We need to redevelop the lakefront. We need to do something with the lakefront. I mean, you know, like they talked about a convention center. Well, why would anybody ever go, oh, yeah, let's book our convention in Cleveland? Because like you said, other than the sports teams and the Rock Hall of Fame and the aquarium or something, what else do you do?
To build a convention center right now would be totally idiotic. That's not only going to bring money in for the rich people. What we need to do is redevelop, like you said, the lakefront here. Get rid of the airport. What's it there for?
Oh, Burke's nothing but a parking lot.
That's all it is. But what I'm saying is we can either, once again, we'll go around with the casino things. If we could have casinos here, that would bring people here, would bring money here, would bring restaurants here, would bring hotels here, would bring more stores here. There's nothing there. They need to get rid of the airport. That's just a major land source that can be used as a revenue as opposed to just for the elite people.
I agree with you 100% there. The airport just sits there, and, when anybody important comes into town, well, they're flying. I mean, if the president's in Cleveland, he's flying into Hopkins. He's not flying into Burke.
Exactly. Hopkins is just an eyesore. It needs to go.
Burke, you mean Burke?
Burke, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But getting back to the police department, as far as the layoffs go, I mean, there's no way around it. It's going to happen. She already said it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Unfortunately, any police officer that we lose is bad for the department because we're already low as it is. Everybody thinks we have a lot of police officers out on the street, but we don't. Our logistics is small. The departments or the units itself are small. We got our police officers spread throughout the city, and now they want to shorten us some more. So the response times are going to go down, and hopefully nothing bad will happen. But anytime this happens, response time is going to go low. The citizens are going to get upset about it. The police officers are not going to be happy with it because now we're going to have to do more with less, as we always have.
And the thing is, it's self-perpetuating, too, because that does not do anything to help property values for people that would think about moving to the city of Cleveland either. Now they're thinking, oh, my God, now look, they laid off all these cops and all the firefighters and EMS, and what happens if my house is burning, or what happens if somebody's knocking on my door with a gun? They're thinking, oh, it's unsafe to live in the city of Cleveland, and that's not true. It is no... There are far more dangerous places to live than the city of Cleveland.
But I would agree with you 100% on that. It's not so bad here in the city that you can't walk downtown and feel like you're going to get mugged. I mean, that could happen in any city. It's not that bad, but safety is always the number one concern, and we always have to remember that. And people, when they feel safer, they will come downtown. But, it's kind of ironic when you got Tower City there, which is a beautiful landmark, but then they're feeding the homeless people right in front of the main doors, breakfast and lunch. I mean, you can't have that.
Yeah, I know. It's wrong-headed. It's like feeding a stray cat. You think it's going to go away?
No, it's not going to go away. I mean, they've been doing that for years. I mean, there's other locations they can pick, but that's just one thing that can be changed in order to try to bring people down here. The businesses are leaving. The storefronts are leaving because there's nothing here. On top of that, you got the parking issue. You got to pay to park down here everywhere you go. I mean, when you're paying $2.50 an hour, I mean, come on. You can go to Parma, you can go to Randall Park Mall, you can go to Great Northern. You don't pay to park. You got all the storefronts there, plus you got all the restaurants there. And who wants to come downtown, pay for parking, and God forbid you get ticketed during rush hour, which, that's our job. We have to do that. But it's just another pain, and that's why people don't come downtown.
And the flats are so dead. I was down there on a Wednesday night, and you could just park on the street. In the East Banks, you could just park on the street of the East Bank because there was nothing going on at all down there.
When I was younger, the flats used to be the place to go. I used to just drive through there just to see all the people out.
Sure.
But there's nothing there no more. Everything is gone down there. There's only a few restaurants left. Basically, it's the West Bank of the flats is really the only side that's open. You got a little bit on the East Bank, but there's really nothing there.
Yep. Place to go to buy ecstasy. That's it.
Yeah. Well, we can go around and around on the drug debate too, but police officers are here. We're doing our job. We're doing the best we can with what we have. And we want to protect the community and we want to provide, but, our hands are tied a lot sometimes, and we just try to do the best we can.
Thanks, officer.
You're welcome.
All right.
Have a nice night.
You too. Yeah, I mean, my car broke down, and a Cleveland cop pushed me out of the way and gave me a ride home. It's not like it's a danger zone. I walk my dog at 4 in the morning and wearing nothing but a pair of silk boxer shorts. How's that for a visual? I'm Rick Gilmour, the strikingly thin young man in silk boxer shorts, walking his dog in Tremont at 4 in the morning. The thinking man's friend and the sharpest mind in Cleveland radio. More of the program, more of your phone calls after these important words and coverage of what in the world's happening on Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100. I love
Rick Gilmour.
The space aliens have more or less landed. They kept our power on during Y2K.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. They're our friends.
On News Radio WTAM 1100.
The space aliens are our friends. Okay. Yeah, I get them all, don't I? Yeah, rich and varied program with some very strange callers occasionally. The results of our cyber vote at WTAM.com. Who killed JFK? Interesting here. 4% believe it's either the FBI or the Soviets. 5% think the Cubans. 9% the CIA. 32% think Lee Harvey Oswald acted on his own, all alone. 46% of you responding to WTAM.com say it's a U.S. government conspiracy. Well, it's something, because you don't blow out the back of a man's head by shooting him in the back. The bullet had to come from... It's just simple physics, isn't it? Tomorrow should be a very interesting day around the halls here of the big one, News Radio, WTAM 1100. Find out what happens with Ladybug Jane Campbell, the queen of the flying hubcap, and saying what's going to happen with the police, fire, and EMS workers, and how many of them are going to get laid off just in time for the holidays, huh? Nice. What about that police officer they called earlier? 578-1100 in the classic 216 area code, and said, the water department's sitting on all kinds of dough. Can't we borrow some money from the water department? I would think. I heard Judy Thompson talking about how the price of gas is up. It depends on where you go. I made sure I stocked up because I drove by the BP here in Independence, and it was only $1.39. Whereas if you go to a BP out in North Olmsted, it's $1.55. Well, they're both BPs, aren't they? Are people poorer in Independence than they are? I mean, even the price of gas, even in 14th and Clark, I think, was $1.49, $1.46, something like that. So when I saw $1.39, I thought, quick, kill it before it grows, right? Because the next thing I knew, I figured by the time I got out of work, I'd be leaving here. You'll hear the Drudge Report coming up after the top of the hour at 10 o'clock here on the big one. By the time I'd leave with my luck, it'd be up to $1.49. It'd go up 10 cents a gallon while I was in work. I'm only here, 3 hours or whatever, doing my research and doing the program, and that's the way it works with me. They'd figure, we're way low here. We're underpriced. It's all a big rip-off. Jake, you're on the air.
Hey, Rick, I just wanted to talk about that story about the guy catching the mouse on the sticky paper and having to set it on fire.
Yeah, a guy called last week. I was talking about how I used those sticky traps to catch mice in my house, but they're inhumane because they live forever. And then he said he had one live 3 days. He had to hide it from his kids. He had to finally set it on fire to put it out of its misery. And I'm thinking, haven't you ever heard of whack-a-mole? Just take a hammer and hit it on the head or run it over with your car or put it in the freezer or drown it in the toilet or God knows what. Set it on fire. I'm sure that went a long way to helping it feel a lot better about it. Yeah.
I mean, I love listening to your show, and you make it entertaining because, you bring up stupid stuff. But the sadness of the same thing is going on in Pittsburgh, losing police, losing firefighters. We ain't got no tax money, and then I hear the same people call in Buffalo and in Pittsburgh and in Cleveland and in Atlanta. If we had gambling, if we could bring people downtown, you know what? We don't need service industry jobs. We don't need retail jobs. We need freaking manufacturing. Somebody needs to start something quick. But anyways, if we could, I don't know, maybe take a week and do like a, ode to Bill Clinton. He made talk radio so enjoyable. It was real news, yet it was funny as hell because he was doing retarded crap all the time. And now, it's kind of like, like somebody was talking about, it's not all Mayor Campbell's fault, and it's the same thing with Bush. It's not all his fault because the economy was faltering before he took over.
Well, now, folks will say, and I was not a big Clinton fan, as anyone might know, but folks will say that if you look at what the Bush administration inherited, we had enough of a budget surplus that he could give us a big tax cut. And now we're going to be in debt for God knows how long. I mean, I've talked to a lot of Vietnam veterans, World War II, Korea, Gulf War I veterans that said, I thought it might have been a good idea to go into Iraq to begin with, but now the more that there's dead and dying Americans every day over there and it's dragging on, and maybe we shouldn't have gone to Iraq. Afghanistan, sure. Iraq, no.
Well...
and these are veterans. These are veterans telling me this, and I want to remind people: remember to support your local VFWs and your ladies' auxiliaries and all that. They do a lot of good. But when veterans are saying, I don't know, I mean, and that's a lot of money we're spending over there.
Well, I was just down to Virginia Beach and hanging out with some Navy SEALs and other kind of special forces people, and I asked them, I'm like, well, what do you guys? And they're like, they're all for it, and it didn't seem, these guys aren't, just the mindless killing machines. They seem like they put some thought into it. And, I'm still lukewarm on it, but they were all for it.
Let's get back to the economy. I never gave Clinton credit because the president has nary a whisper of anything to do with the economy, really. I mean, so if you can't give Clinton credit for the surplus, which I didn't, I can't change my tune now, really. So you cannot blame President Bush for 9/11 and, the economy tanking after that. I mean, a lot of things happened. I don't think that George Bush is the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I also think that he got dealt a pretty tough hand of cards there to try and deal with. I mean, you got to imagine, no one expected this. And how do you fix it? You can't fix it overnight. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and badmouth the president and say he's a bad person or anything like that. I think perhaps he has some poor advisors, but he also has a pretty tough slot to, I mean, I'm not old enough to remember what talk radio was like during World War II, and I'm sure it was a little different than the talk radio of nowadays because the grand old lady of radio has bent over and grabbed her ankles, but it's changed a bit. But think about all the people that complained about FDR. I mean, but think about what he had to deal with. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm fairly certain that World War II killed him. It's a lot of stress. I mean, there's a lot of stress. I wouldn't want to be president. There's a lot of tough decisions there.
Well, and like I said, your mayor now, the one before, it's not, we can't lay all the blame on either one of them, maybe a combination of things, and the same thing with him, but it's just a sad state when, Storm and Norm, who I like to listen to, and I think he does have good ideas, saying we need education, it's like, the people on C-SPAN saying we need, more job training. Job training for what? For what job? We don't have any jobs here.
Well, but the point about education does make sense because how many people do you know, or well, I live in the city of Cleveland, and there are people that say, you know what, I live in your neighborhood because I like your neighborhood, but not if I had kids, because I don't want my kids going to Cleveland schools, and that's why I live in Westlake, and I'm in over my head, or I live in Strongsville and rent and don't buy a house. It's all because of the schools.
Yeah, but, I want to have a yard for my kids and my dog, and I want to have decent schools, although I don't use the public schools. I want to have the surrounding area be decent, I just, and now I'm, a racist because I don't want to live in the city of Pittsburgh and use the same thing, the city of Cleveland, it's the same thing, but it's a dying area. Why the hell am I going to go down there? Am I going to go down there to shop? I have a beautiful mall about 1.5 miles from my house.
I understand that. What was that, the FBI?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're bugging me.
Okay, yeah. Well, I understand where you're coming from there because, people, the day of going downtown to go shopping in Cleveland or Pittsburgh, I think is over. The only reason I would go to Pittsburgh for any reason whatsoever is to go, I'd tow a trailer and go buy some furniture at IKEA. Other than that, in Pittsburgh and Cleveland, I don't know why we have...
Trailer. A trailer because it's all small furniture.
There you go. Yeah, it's like that when you go into the double wides and you go, wow, this seems really big, and then you look and all the chairs are 2/3 size because it makes the trailer look bigger.
Are like Scandinavian people a little or something?
Yeah, it's all
furniture.
Japanese furniture. And they miniaturized everything, including the penis, I understand. But that we're quite proud of. You ever hear that story about Reagan?
What story?
An order came in from the old Soviet Union. They wanted 800,000 rubbers, and they had to be at least 15 inches long. And they said, what do we do with this, President? And President Reagan looked at it, and he said, make them, ship them, and stamp them small.
Can I go now, Rick?
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Make 'em, ship 'em, and stamp 'em small. I'll be here until Wednesday. Enjoy the veal, and don't forget to tip your waitresses. No, I wouldn't. No.
This is an interesting story. There's a county road. Where the hell is it? Near Norfolk, which doesn't help me any here. I should have read the story, and it caught my interest because the name of the road is 6FU, as in fireman and umbrella. And the county commissioners, wherever this Norfolk is, it's got to be someplace out west. They want to try and change the name because the people that live on 6FU, the county road, they want it to go away. They said it's an embarrassment. People live on that street.